Hey gang, today we're going to be talking about how to create wealth using subject to with promissory note. So today the class is deep in three parts: wealth, promissory notes, and then subject to. To quickly define what wealth, in my opinion, is where you don't have to trade your time for money. Simply put, if you don't have to work to get paid and pay your electricity, pay your water bill, then you are wealthy. Now, we can define it in many different ways, but it's a good place to start where you only do things that you want to do because you truly love it. You don't do anything because of some fake papers. Now, let's talk about the second part of this before we can dive in. Subject to. Subject to is a strategy that I personally use. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not telling you you should do this. This is something that I personally done, and I'm giving you my personal experiences. Is a strategy that I've used in the last crash, 2006 fourth quarter, 2007, 2008, 2009, etc., to buy houses from what I call motivated home sellers. And there was a lot of them back then, and there's going to be a lot coming now. It's already started in 2019, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of motivated sellers. So subject to is a strategy that I've used where I find homeowners if they have a mortgage. If they have a mortgage, then I'm able to buy their home by just stepping into their shoes and just making their monthly payments. In other words, I just make their monthly payments. They give me the ownership of the property. Okay, that's what a subject to is. So now we define what wealth is, and we've defined what subject to is without going really into depth. The last part is promissory note. Now, a promissory note is whenever you go to a bank to borrow your mortgage for your house, one of the very first things they make you sign is called promissory note. And a promissory note says that, Mr. Banker, I'll pay this amount at this interest rate for this amount of time. Okay? So usually it's like a 30-year, $100,000, 30 years, 6% fixed. Right? But on the promissory note, it also has a place where you can just hang your neck on the rope, because what you're promising to the lender or borrower in this case, that if you default, not only can they come and collect the collateral, when this case, the house, plus they could come after you directly to, garnish or levy or put liens on your properties or etc., because of you defaulting. So a promissory note, when traditionally when someone buys a home, they go to the closing and they're going to sign a marathon of paperwork. One of the paperwork is a promissory note that says, Mr. Banker, I'm going to pay you this much, 100K, 30-year, and 6% fixed. Plus, I'm going to sign my neck on the line saying that if I default, not can you only come get the collateral, but you can also come, guess what, get me personally and sue me personally, okay, for the deficiencies. So that's what a promissory note is. It's an IOU that a borrower usually signs to the lender. That's when they want to borrow a mortgage to get the purchase money to buy a property. Now, there's more paperwork that's signed at the title company when you go traditionally, but one of the major ones is a promissory note, and another one is what I call DOT, deed of trust. And a deed of trust is basically a collateral instrument that the borrower, so in this case, if it was me borrowing money from a bank, which I never borrow money from a bank, I hate bankers. But let's say if I went to Bank of America and I was going to borrow some money for my own personal home or an investment property, doesn't matter. There's a marathon of stuff I got to sign at closing, but two of the main things that I got to sign is promissory note and then DOT, a deed of trust, which is a collateral instrument that I have to pledge my property, that house that I'm going to buy, pledge it to the banker. Say, look, if I default, which means if I don't make your monthly payments or I don't pay you, you can take the collateral, you can take the property. Okay. Plus, here's the other bad part. There's two black eyes, not just one. Plus, you can come after me directly for any deficiencies. You can sue me. You can go after my cars, whatever. So that's what a promissory note does. And the deed of trust basically allows the bank to rob you of the collateral because you're pledging it into a deed of trust. Okay, DOT. That's just simplify it. So that's what happens at a closing. Now, the title of this class is How to Build Wealth with Subject to Investing Using Promissory Note. So what that means is what I do is the same thing the bankers do. So a banker, they use a system called fractional reserve lending, which means that they don't have the money. They're able to create it out of nothing. Okay, that's what fractional reserve means. Fraction of what they're lending, usually if they have $1, they can lend out 10 or more, means they don't even have it. So the way an investor can use this strategy is if you, for example, go to Craigslist or you go to any of these classified ads, if you search for owner financing, you'll see a lot of investors listing like ads like, if you give me $20,000 down, I'll become your bank. Well, they're using the strategy what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you go on any of these platforms, classifies, and you see people saying, give me 10 grand down, 30 grand down, 20% down, I'll become your bank. You don't have to get a loan. They're using this strategy. And they're using the strategy in two ways. Okay. First, they buy the property subject to. So first, I will market to a motivated seller. Okay. Like what I teach my students on how to do in my profit sharing coaching for free using my Flipping Wednesdays, where they find these sellers totally for free. Other places have you spend thousands of dollars in bandit signs and direct mail, you name it. Okay. Old school stuff. So I will market to these motivated sellers. I'll find one that's motivated. Maybe they're emotionally motivated. Maybe they're financially motivated. I'm not going to get into that. I've already talked about that a lot. They're, let's say they're financially motivated. They're going through a divorce. Wife has left. Husband can't make the payments because they used to both work together to make the monthly payments. Now there's only one income and he can't pay for it. So in this case, I will step into the seller's shoes, maybe pay for his closing, maybe give him a free move, maybe put a little bit of money into his pocket, or maybe none of that, depends on the deal. And I might be into the property $3,000, okay? $4,000 or $5,000 or $10,000. Depends on the situation, depends on the property, okay? I'll be in it for a small amount of money. I usually way less than if I went traditionally to get a property because I got to put 20% down for a rental property. Since I'm buying, I'm going to use it as a rental. So I buy the property from a homeowner direct without using a real estate agent, with no real estate agent. I just market to them direct. And I'll buy their house. Let's say they own a mortgage and they can't sell for whatever reason. And the guy's highly motivated because he's going through a divorce. And I end up paying his closing, pay for his move, and altogether I'm $3,000 into the property. So I buy the property subject to from a motivated seller. Then what I do is I turn around and I'll put it on Craigslist, for example, that, hey, I'm willing to do 10% down. And maybe 10% is $15,000. Maybe 10% is $10,000. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do X percent down and I'm willing to become your bank. So that's what my ad says on Craigslist. Say, hey, if you have a business and you can't qualify from a loan, I'll become your bank. If you have the money down, I'll become your bank. There's no credit checks, etc. So what I'm going to do is once I buy the property subject to, I'm going to wrap it and sell it to someone that can qualify for a loan or someone that doesn't want to get a loan, just like me. They don't like bankers, right? So they're willing to work with me direct. And the person that's going to come buy the property, maybe I ask them $10,000 down. So they give me the $10,000 right off the bat. I've already made my $3,000 back, and now I'm in the positive $7,000 right off the bat, right? Then what I also do is when I wrap that old mortgage with the new mortgage that I'm going to sell to the seller, I'm going to raise the interest rate, which now creates me wealth because it creates me passive income, positive passive income where I can sit here and do videos for you guys versus go have a job. Doesn't matter if I have a $100,000 job or $10 an hour job. Anytime you trade your money, your time for money, then you're not free. You're a slave. So the whole goal of this whole situation is wealth building. That's why I define what wealth was for me, is where I don't have to work. I can do whatever I want to do, I choose to do, versus trade my time for money. And then subject two is where I talk to you, where I just buy the property from a homeowner direct. And now I'm talking about the promissory note, where I will create a new promissory note by wrapping the existing mortgage and then selling it to someone that wants to buy a home, which is a lot of people. And maybe they don't want to go to a bank. Maybe they can't qualify from a bank. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of money. I know a lot of business owners that don't qualify for loans because they're self-employed. They have their own business. Okay, and I'll wrap it around and sell it to someone like that. And right off the bat, maybe I just ask little money down. I want 10 grand down, so I get the 10 grand. I was in it for 3, right? I got 7. Let's say I put $1,000 in marketing, so I'm in it profit for 6. So I got the 1,000 from marketing, 3,000 for paying the closing, paying the guy's move. Okay, so I'm in it profit instantly, $6,000. But the great news is that's one zone of profit. When I create a promissory note and sell it to a retail buyer, I create myself 3 zones of profit, 3 zones. And that was the down payment was just one zone. Okay. I still have 2 other zones. So you are asking yourself, Mike, well, what are the other 2 zones? Well, the next zone is when I increase the interest rate, I instantly create me a positive passive cash flow. Okay. I create me why? Because when I bought this home from the seller, maybe their interest rates were 2%. When I turn around and I wrap it and I sell it to a retail buyer, I may charge 5%. I might charge 6%. I might charge more because it's a premium. I'm willing to sell my house with owner financing where majority of homeowners are now willing to do that. So I could get a premium on not only on the interest rate, but we'll also talk about later on something else. So regarding the second zone of profit is I instantly cause myself at the spread from the mortgage I got to pay to that seller and the mortgage that this new buyer is going to give me. And the spread will be a positive cash flow. Okay. So let's say I buy this house from the seller and my payments are $1,000, but by the time I wrap it and I increase the interest rate and sell it to a new retail buyer for 6%, 7%, then right off the bat, I'll be getting a positive cash flow, $500 a month, $600 a month, more. It depends on what do I wrap it towards and how much money they put down. Because the more they put down, the lower put the interest rate, the less they put down, the higher the interest rate because, it's a risk for me. Okay. So right off the bat, I'll have 2 positive profit zones, the down payment and the monthly cash flow. And that's it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't stop there, gang. Then I have the last zone of profit because this strategy creates 3 zones of profit. Okay. The last zone of profit is what I call the back end. Now, why is there a back end? Well, let's say I'm marketing to this motivated seller that I bought his house subject to because they were going through a divorce. And by the time I pay his closing costs and give him a free move, I'm in it for $3,000. Well, let's say his mortgage to his bank, just to simplify, it was $100,000. And doesn't matter if it's the market is up, sideways, or down. Any market that I have a property and I have a term, or what that means is I'm willing to be the bank for someone else, I'm going to get a premium on that. Why? Because someone's able to get a house without going the traditional path, having credit, etc. So they're going to pay premium for that. Where are they going to pay the premium in? Well, 2 places. They're going to pay the premium in the interest rate. I mean, that's normal, guys. If you go borrow money from Bank of America, you're going to pay less versus if you go to cash a check or one of those hard money lenders, right? So it's normal. And then the second place that I'm going to get a premium in is the asking price. Now, going back to the story, when I buy this house subject to from this motivated seller, let's say his mortgage balance is 100K. Well, I can quickly turn around and sell the same exact home for 110, 120, 125, 115 because I can get a premium on a house that anyone can qualify without a bank. And I'm going to have a line of people that want this house versus the traditional way where they got to put 20% down or they have to have, a good debt to income ratio, or they got to have, be able to qualify for FHA or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to get more of a premium. Therefore, I create myself three profit zones: the upfront down payment, the monthly cash flow, and last but not least, that big chunk of money when the seller cashes me out. What that means is, let's say I sell the house to the seller with a 30-year fixed mortgage of 6%, and after 6 years, after 10 years, he just refinanced the loan to get a lower interest rate. Well, at that time, I'm going to get that back end money that I added as a premium for this. So if I bought the house for 110, I might have sold it for 120, right? And that remaining $20,000 will be paid to me because when I created that note, even if he lives in the house for 6 to 10 years, the very first 6 to 10 years, he's going to be the borrower or the new retail buyer, aka borrower, is going to be paying amortization. Whatever bankers do me is exactly the way I'm going to do him. So even though he lived in the property for 6 to 10 years, the majority of his payments are just going towards interest reduction versus principal. So by the time he cashes me out or refinances, guess what? I'm winning just like the banks. So this strategy is exactly a clone of what banks do. Exactly. The banks create money out of nothing, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not getting a loan. I'm getting buying a seller's existing loan, and then I'm turning around and I'm wrapping it and I'm creating a three profit zone opportunities for someone that can get a home, that really wants a home, and they have a successful business. And the three profit zones are the down payment, the monthly cash flow, and the back end. And the reason I create a monthly cash flow and the reason I'm able to create a back end is because I'm able to get a premium for the house. But here's the other good thing. In today's era of almost 0% interest rate, most of these homes are going to be massive cash cows without me even increasing the interest rate, without even me trying to sell for a premium. So that's why I'm so happy of 2019 being the crash of the real estate and many other bubbles, because it's not like 1980s. It's not like 1990s. It's not like the 2000s. It's not like 2003, 2006, where interest rates were 6, 7% and higher, 9% on mortgages. Today, interest rates are all-time zero or almost to zero, which means they're already a cash cow if you turn it into a rental property or if you turn it into a what I call a promissory note wealth building. Now, one of the cool things about this strategy versus being a buy and hold guy or being a guy that buys the property and becomes a landlord is that you don't have to deal with the headaches. When I say you, I'm talking about me. I don't have to deal with the headaches. What does that mean? Well, when I buy the property subject to and I turn it around and wrap it and sell it to a retail buyer that can't get a loan, they become the rightful owners of the property. I just become the bank. That's why I created a promissory note, just like the banks do when the original seller borrowed, or if you went to borrow money from a bank, you're gonna have to sign a promissory note. So I lost my train of thought where I was going. Let me get some tea, guys. If you have any questions, leave it below. I freestyle everything. I'm not scripted. Let me get some tea. Some of these comments. You have any questions? Leave it below. I'll read them right now. What's up, Dean? Oh, Denzo. What's going on, man? Wilbert, what's going on? So could I be the bank without my own money? Uh, Mr. Exxon, that's a good question. Hey, Mike, I put a few subject to deals under contract in the past few weeks. We've been approaching by other investors to acquire our deals. What are typical assignment fees for signing out subject to deals? Very, very good questions. You the man, Danzy, for I'm sorry, Denizo, for going out there and taking action and finding these deals. There seems to be a lot of more subject to deals on the market than ever before because some sellers are starting to wake up. Sellers that try to sell their home that couldn't with a real estate agent, they're starting to realize. Sellers that have been trying to sell for 6 months to a year, they're starting to realize that, oh shit, sellers are watching the stock market are starting to wake up. So I'm take off my hat for you for taking action. Um, Now, your question was, what is a typical assignment fee? It just all depends on the deal, man. You could do anywhere as little as money as possible, so you can get your foot wet and learn the business. You can do as much as money as possible if you have a good buyers list, etc. And it depends on the deal. You have a deal you bought subject to has $100,000 of equity, you get more of a premium than if you bought a deal that has no equity. Right. So you got to think about the whole aspect. But the best bet is to join me at my profit sharing coaching every Saturdays, and we can work one on one with you. And if you already have the skills to close these deals, then you should definitely join profit sharing, because I have a lot of students that are new and they have a lot of leads. They're highly motivated people. Husbands has died, heart attacks, vacant properties, and they don't have this closing skills, because what my system does is it puts you in front of a lot of motivated sellers and lets you practice batting. Unlike any other system out there where you have to spend thousands of dollars just talking to one seller, okay, because you have to spend all this money in marketing. So my students are now able to be in the bat, hit the bat, keep practicing, and meet a shitload of sellers, right? A lot of them are highly motivated. And now they're working on their, what I call, offer presentation. And that takes a little time. So if you already have the offer presentation, I highly recommend getting into our profit sharing, because my students will be willing to split, their profits with you, if you're able to close these deals. So that's another thing, guys. If you know how to do subject to deals, I highly recommend joining my profit sharing, because I have a lot of students right now, man, a lot of leads, right? Not leads, but highly motivated, targeted, and they just don't know how to close the deals, right? So if you have the skills and you want to be a closer for a group, then I highly recommend joining the profit sharing coaching, okay? Because you can make money just closing deals. My students will bring you deals on a platter, and all you got to do is just call a motivated seller. Like, I know, I know many students that have Excel sheets full of motivated sellers. They just don't have the confidence, the competence, and the courage to close deals. It doesn't mean they're not going to be able to do it. And the more they bat, eventually they're going to be able to hit those home runs, right? So if you have that skills, I highly recommend joining the profit sharing. We meet every Saturday. We'll split 9 deals. We work one on one, and on top of that, if you're a closer, you know how to do deals, then the profit sharing is the place for you, because I have a lot of new students that are highly motivated, highly hungry. They're doing a lot of work. They have tons of motivated sellers on their, what I call, seller databases. They just don't have the confidence and the competence to close deals. And if you're highly motivated investor that has experience, you can make a lot of money, even though you'll get a little of the profits, because you have to split it with them. But again, they're going to bring you 25 motivated sellers, or someone going to bring you 50 or 100 motivated sellers that they haven't been able to crack, but they're highly motivated. They're made, some of these sellers, for example, are, they have second homes. They moved out. The house is vacant. They're making monthly payments. There's sellers out there. Their husbands are dead. There's sellers out there that are going to divorce and the house is vacant. There's sellers out there that are vacant. I mean, all kinds of good deals. Highly recommend anyone that has experience to get into profit sharing and become the closer, because you could easily do 20 to 33 deals a month by not ever. Maybe we'll let you in the profit sharing, guys. But good question. Now, someone else was asking. Okay, someone said, so I could be the bank without my own money. Okay, Mr. X, so that's exactly what the strategy is. So the banks are able to lend without having their own money. So I basically use their same strategy they're using to fractional reserve. So instead of me having 100K and buying the property, okay, now let me say this: I prefer to buy houses for cash. I don't want to buy subject to. Okay. I want to deal with homeowners that own the house fully and clear, and I buy it for cash, or we do some kind of seller financing. I don't want to buy houses for people that have mortgages on their homes and do subject to. It's what I call a best worst option. It's not my best option because it's a risk for me. The bank can call the note up. It's a risk for the seller. The bank could, call the note on them. So it's not something that I'm like, hey, I want to buy people's homes subject to. It's, when you have a typhoon of home sellers that can't sell their home, like my man just said on YouTube, that he's been getting a lot of deals under subject to, because the market has changed, right? The market has changed. Even if you don't know what the fuck to do, if you have the courage and confidence to do it. Some of these students, they have so many leads in front of them, and they're just like, and they freeze up, like, right? But if you're really hungry, you're not gonna freeze up. You're just gonna, you know what I mean? I have students that motivated sellers are calling them, begging them to give them an offer, and it's like 7 days later, and they haven't even given the offer because they don't have the courage to give them the offer. So this is normal. That's why when you see a deer, they just freeze up because they have so much fear, right? So if you're that type of person that you don't have fear, then profit sharing is a great place for you. Okay. But yes, to answer my friend's question on YouTube, I don't have to have all the purchasing price to buy the property and then create a promissory note. Okay. I can just take over someone's mortgage and do the same exact thing. That, or if they don't have a mortgage, I could create a promissory note with them and then turn around and sell this promissory note and resell it to someone else, to a retail buyer, and do a wrap on it. So there's a lot of different exit strategies out there, but simply put, you nailed it on top. I don't need the whole purchase money to actually become a lender in a sense, because I'm just owner financing the house that I bought for myself. Okay, if that makes any sense. Good questions, guys. Got some more questions coming in right here. Let me see this one right here. Okay. Someone says, "What is the price of profit sharing?" All right, guys. It's $119 a month. It's not expensive, but it's not for everyone. $119 a month, and there's 5 tools that you have to buy. The tools are 100% refundable to you once you do your 9 deals with me. Okay. So again, there's $119 a month, 5 tools. The tools are 100% refundable when me and you cash 9 checks. Okay, pretty simple. So the goal is for me and you to work together to do 9 deals because the market is changing. As my boy on YouTube said, he's new. He's getting subject to deals. The market is changing, and I'm very, very hungry, and I'm willing to work with you so we can do deals in your backyard. I'm looking to buy properties in Florida. I'm looking to buy properties in Colorado, in Las Vegas. I mean, all over America, Oklahoma. Guys, so if you're in no matter what part of the country you're in, I'm willing to work with you to find deals. And if I don't want to buy them, then I'll show you how we can find a different exit strategy, like one that we just talked about for both of us to create a win-win situation, guys. So if you're interested, join. So the person that asked, what's the price? $119 a month. That's it. We meet 4 meetings. So that's roughly like 20 to 30 bucks per meeting. You can drive to a REI club, pay 20 to 30 bucks to go there, pay for traffic, pay for parking, and then go there and hear a guy sales pitch you. Or you can log into my profit sharing just using the comfort of your home through a computer, and then I will help you to do deals because whenever you cash a check, I cash checks too. It doesn't get any better than that. I've been to many REI clubs all over America that were all sales pitches. Not one ever helped me to do a deal. They were just there to extract me for my money. I want to work with you and buy deals in your area, and I'm doing something revolutionary. I'm creating profit sharing. Profit sharing, that means that your interest and my interest are lined up, guys. All right. Onedisclaimer.com. One other thing before we get out of here, guys, is that I have another special right now called the Academy. In my Academy, you get monthly coaching, 1 meeting a month, plus you get access to all my advanced and best-selling courses. Now, when I say advanced, that means they're best-selling. It doesn't matter if you're new or beginner. The courses include that. Some of the top-selling courses, like my VA Exponential, where I teach you how to find virtual assistants for just 75 cents an hour. So you can have someone doing your cold calling for you. You can have someone, that's working 40 hours a week and you're only paying them 30 bucks, man. A little bit less than 30 bucks, but 30 bucks a week, guys. That's $120 a month, okay? I also have 15 other top selling courses that tons of positive reviews, like my mother course. That's 171 chapters. It talks about options, sandwiches, subject twos, wraps, promissory notes, everything we just talked about today. How to cold call, how to generate free leads, how to door knock, how to do offer presentations, how to negotiate, everything you can imagine. Everything it's a $3,500 course. I sell it for $3,500. But today you can get it for 67 bucks a month. So right now you can join my academy. You get unlimited academy access plus 1 meeting a month coaching for just $67 a month. That's it. In the academy, there is no obligations to buy any tools. You don't have to share the profits with me. You don't have to do any of that. So $67 a month gets you all my best selling courses plus 1 meeting a month. If you want to work with me more and you want to get your hand hold, then join my profit sharing where we work. We meet 4 times a month and we split 9 deals. and it costs only 119 bucks. So if you have your money right, profit sharing. If you need more attention, more help, profit sharing. If you're a lonely wolf that like to do everything by yourself, you don't want to split the profits, you don't want to buy any tools, then the academy, $67. You get access to all the courses, and then once a month meetings, only once a month, which is plenty. You can ask me information about how to do stuff, and your courses, guys. Great questions. Let's see, I think we got another comment. Yeah. He said, how much is the profit sharing? If you go to MrNoFluff.com, MrNoFluff.com, it's only $119. And there's a set of tools that you have to buy. Everyone has to get these tools because you need these tools for your success. One of them is called like Flipping Wednesdays, where we show you how to find people in your backyard. And all my students use that. I mean, all my students in there are generating tons of motivated sellers without spending no money in marketing. Okay. Like I said earlier, your tools are 100% refundable once you finish your 9 deals. So the whole reason we have the tools is I want to gift them to you for free, but I want to make sure you're committed. When you do your 9 deals, you get them for free, basically. Okay, so $119 a month. You need your tools. Your tools are 100% refundable once you do 9 deals. If you're a pro, you already know how to close deals. I think you'll find this really, really helpful because we have tons of students that have a lot of motivated sellers. And if you can be the closer, and I'm very confident that some of these, if not all of them, are willing to share some of the profits with you because they already done a lot of footwork. They're talking to the seller. They filtered them out. They fill out the Ninja phone script. They know the life stories. All you got to do is just pick up the phone like you know them and call on their behalf to close the deals, which is pretty amazing. Like you're only getting the cream of the cream. You're only talking to the highly most motivated sellers that already said, I'm willing to do a subject to, or I'm willing to do owner financing. You just gotta close the T's and the I's. All right, $119 a month at profit sharing, $67 at the academy. Someone says, "How do you get a hold of me?" Well, you really don't get a hold of me unless you book me. If you want to book me, $750 an hour. You go to myrealestatedojo.com. Hourly, I charge $750. If you want to rub elbows with me, profit sharing, $119 a month, guys. Okay. Much love to you. I'm looking forward to the economic crash. There's going to be a wealth exchange, and I'm going to be on the side of the bankers and do exactly what they do to be where they are, right? One of the stuff they're doing is fractional reserve lending, and which is exactly what I just showed you how I'm going to do it in the upcoming crash when I buy houses for motivated sellers, and how I'm going to turn around and resell it to motivated home buyers that want to buy a home that they can't. Much love. Click the like button. See you later, gang.